Dang it. Hello, guys and ghouls, intellects and fools are all welcome here at this broadcast. Welcome to Sidekicks Paranormal. I'm here, of course, with MaryLynn and Phil Adams. I need to change my name. I haven't done that yet, but I will. In the meantime, I will let MaryLynn introduce our phenomenal guest.
So with us tonight, we have Bishop James Long, and he is going to be with us tonight, and Phil has his bio.
Born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, within the Roman Catholic tradition. From a young age, he felt the calling to serve the church and knew he wanted to become a priest. Even as a young child, just as 5, the path for him was very clear. After completing high school, he felt compelled to spend a few years working before dedicating his life to the church, eventually accepting God's calling and enrolled in the Roman seminary. It was I may mess this up, Loyola University in Chicago.
There you go.
Where he obtained his undergraduate degree and continued his seminary studies at the graduate level. And you've gone on to become the Archbishop of your current mission and confines of a single location congregation. I'm messing this up. I'm sorry. I am. He's deeply
Phil.
committed to teaching.
So
He's deeply committed to teaching. Just the camera guy. I'm just the camera guy.
I'm going to get you that.
He's committed to teaching Bible study to the public, which is what you normally do on Wednesdays, correct?
yes, Sundays and Wednesdays.
Yes.
That's why we have a special show tonight, because of you having your show on Wednesday. So we moved to Tuesday so that way we can have you on. So thank you for joining us.
Appreciate you guys
Thank
doing
you.
that.
So I have a question. I'm gonna jump off with a question here. Why does an exorcist exist? Why is there such a thing as an exorcism? Why is it a thing?
Because Christ commanded it. He actually told his disciples to go and cast out demons. And so really it was Christ who was instituted this sacrament, or not the sacrament, but the ministry. And so people are called, not every clergy member is called to serve as an exorcist. And so I knew I wanted to be a priest when I was 5.
Oh, wow.
And I began studying books on demonology and Satan and Lucifer and when I was 9 years old. And so I didn't know a
When
lot.
I was 9, I was like, hey, I have a wiener.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that story with me.
Of course. I'm
it's
saying you're way more advanced than I was.
I was warned. Yeah,
Yes,
but
sir.
well, that's a good thing to know. But
Yes.
no, at 9 years old, but it's true. At 9 years old, most of my friends were out there playing, out and being stupid. But I was always a nerd kid in the library studying demonology.
So what I really mean is, like, why does exorcisms exist? I mean, like, what is it about possession? When did that start? I mean, did just the devil and I guess his buddies go, hey, this is going to be fun. Let's do this. I mean, how did that work?
There's nothing fun about possession. It's terrible. It's quite terrible. And actually, we see this in ancient Mesopotamia, even in the writings of certainly ancient writings of incubus and succubus, and they are unbelievably violent, truly, truly violent. And so, obviously, we are creating God's image. So we are the image of God, and so we are to be the living temple of the Holy Spirit. And so to desecrate the image of God, to desecrate the living temple of the Holy Spirit, a form of possession can take place. And you got to remember that when someone is possessed, the body has gone to extreme trauma. Extreme. And so then, of course, possession can take place, and that's continuing to desecrate the image of God. So we are the living temple of the Holy Spirit, as Scripture says. And it's quite, since the beginning of time, the very beginning of time, mankind is created in God's image. And you desecrate the image of God to the best of their ability. And they certainly have been doing that from some ancient Mesopotamia times.
So it's one of those things where I guess possession, it was really more of an act of desecration. And that's why God stepped in to be like, hey, no, here are people that are trained to basically cast you out.
Sure. Well, and keep in mind, not every case leads to possession.
Sure. Okay.
But this is a ministry that is necessary because demons will certainly continue to fight and continue to push. And a lot of people, and with all due respect for everybody, a lot of people make jokes even sometimes about demons and demonology and possession. And I've even seen sometimes movies about that. It's, kind of mocking it. That is rather offensive. And I don't play that game. I don't play that game. That is something that I'm not going. I don't tolerate. I don't watch. I don't listen to because of what I've seen.
Yeah.
And so I performed 31 exorcisms on people who were truly possessed, and these people went through pure hell. Not only them, but their family.
Right.
And
yeah.
so
We're actually discussing a case right now, and that's kind of the case. I mean, he's really kind of been through the ringer since this whole problem has kind of began, and. I think you realize it can take a toll on somebody, just especially over time.
Sure. What happened? What happened to this case?
So he actually he died, and he had a heart attack, and he died for 45 minutes. They had to keep reviving him. He was gone for 45. So he was an atheist. And it was to the point of when he came back, he said that he heard things, he saw things, and things talking to him and saying things to him, and it followed him back. And there's just darkness all around him. And there's all kinds of stuff that he sees, shadows. He's got all kinds of videos. So we're actually going to go visit with him in Michigan and later this month. And so that's one reason wanted to have you come on. So that way, if we need to, we can always reach out to you as well.
Yeah.
If we need something a little bit more assistance.
The deal is the devil will offer you a crossless life. And remember, even he came to Christ and he tried, I'll give you the whole world. You don't have to take the cross. I'll give you everything in the world. You just worship me. And so, but what was the devil really ultimate offering Christ? It was a life without the cross. And he said, you don't have to die. I'll give you everything. No need for that bloody sacrifice. So these people won't listen to you. Well, they don't worship you. They don't love you. So why would you do that? And Jesus said, get behind me, Satan. So the devil tries to keep you from your ultimate goal in life, whatever it is that God has placed that in calling in you, whatever it might be, whether it be to be a father, a teacher, a lawyer. No, not a lawyer. No offense, but maybe a minister, a preacher, whatever it might be. So Satan always offers you a crossless life, and so that didn't work.
Is that why he's like, it's my cross to bear? Is that where that term came from? Absolutely,
because Jesus knew what he was supposed to do. I mean, because ultimately that was the ultimate sacrifice to restore the covenant that mankind screwed up in the first covenant that we had with the Israelites and Yahweh. We just simply could not. Humanity could not fulfill that covenant. There were 613 laws, so we could not fulfill all those 613 laws. We just simply could not. And in the covenant language says that you have to have a sacrifice, an unblemished lamb. You must have that sacrifice, that covenant, the language. This is why Christ was the unblemished lamb. Christ became the true unblemished lamb so that we no longer have to sacrifice animals to reach out to God. So the covenant was always restored, and that is why the sacrifice of the cross was necessary.
Okay. So what is your, when you're helping families and stuff, what is the percentage that you find is actually really a possession versus just negative energy around them? So what do you see?
Or even mental health.
Yeah, possession is very rare. So I've been in the paranormal community for a long time. My first time I investigated was 35 years ago at Waverly Hills. And I was in the paranormal community when we contacted each other through Yahoo groups.
Yep.
That was how we communicated. There
Yahoo
wasn't
groups?
Facebook. Yahoo groups. I'm telling you, dude, those were cool stuff. Now, don't knock Yahoo groups. That was
We'll
cool
say
stuff.
I remember.
They were.
remember.
I mean, that was cool. That was. But that's what we did. That's how we communicated, the Yahoo groups. And this was before MySpace. This was before Facebook. This was before Twitter and all that other stuff. We didn't have all that. But I have since then. I've thousands of requests through the years, and so I always show people this because the need is so demanding. So here is the emails that I have. Well, you can't see it.
Wow.
Oh, wow. 600.
Wow.
So 16,809 messages. And over now 15,000 messages on TikTok. So
and how many of those are trying to get you for your car's extended warranty?
Every single one of them. Every single one of them. I always say the power of Christ compels you, but they don't go away. They just keep coming back. I don't know what the heck's wrong with those people. But
so how do you choose? How do you choose? I mean, if there's so many, how do you choose?
It's hard, honestly, and I tell people, honest to God, the hardest part of doing this ministry is when I'm on, because I don't charge. I've never charged in over 2 decades. Never ever charged. Never in 31 exorcisms or blessing people's homes. I never charged, and until recently, someone was willing to help. So I've not gotten any help. I've done it all on my own, and so. The hardest part of this ministry is not fighting demons, because I know the nature of a demonic. You know the nature. But the hardest part is to be on the phone with the family who is begging in tears and begging me, please come to my home and help us. And I can't get there.
Right.
Because I can't get to Washington, or I can't get to Florida, or I can't get to New York or Texas. I just can't do it. Financially, because it's expensive. You got to rent a car, you got a flight, you got a hotel. You could be there for easily 3 or 4 days or even longer.
So do you feel like that could be that negative side, just kind of putting salt in your wound, knifing your wound a little bit?
100%. Because, when you're clergy, really anybody who has a heart, you want to help people. And then when they're begging you and they're pleading with you, please get to our home. I mean, that's the hardest part, where I have to say, I can't get there right now.
Right.
And then you hear them crying and sobbing on the phone.
Yeah.
So what we do is, when I first, over 20 years ago, there really was no network of paranormal teams. There was nothing. And I said, we got to put some type of network together, because I can't get to all these places. So I started the Paranormal Clergy. And the Paranormal Clergy, the whole point of that was to create a network of paranormal groups who do it actually, that don't think everything is a demon, but they actually go there and they investigate, they validate, or they're able to debunk. And that helps me.
Do the groundwork, right?
Oh gosh, yeah, because I was tired of telling people I can't help you. So at least I can get a team out there. We can find out what's going on and validate, because I'm a very strong advocate for paranormal investigators. I will stand toe to toe with any clergy member who talks smack about paranormal investigators and tell you, well, then you answer the phone at 3:00 and go to these people's homes, because that's exactly what they're doing.
Exactly. Yep.
And that is a ministry. So don't sit there and talk about how they're doing the work of the devil when you're sitting your butt in your nice little bed, and they're getting up at 3:00 in the morning or 4:00 in the morning, driving 8 hours to somebody's home they don't even know, buying all the equipment, going through all the evidence, and then telling you what they have. You better thank these people.
Yeah.
And most people don't understand what we do go through as investigators, trying to help the people out, and it's sometimes we can't. So that's why we have people like you to step in to say, hey, this is a little bit beyond us. So can you help?
And so, and I rely on, I love the paranormal teams that we have. Because if I didn't have that, I couldn't do it. There's no way I could do this ministry. I just can't. So now I gave that ministry to Rich Valdez. He owns it. And now we have the Society of St. Benedict with our abbot, Tommy. He owns this, and now they're networking together. So if we have cases, now I'm telling everybody, go to that site, bishopjameslong.com. You got to click on the paranormal, because I have too many people in all these social media outlets asking me to help, and I can't juggle it. So from now on, they have to go to bishopjameslong.com. They have to click on the paranormal link, and they have to request help that way. And the Society of St. Benedict will start on the case. But you were asking about how many was demonic. I have not seen an increase in possession, but I have seen an increase in demonic infestation.
Really?
Yes.
So what are the indicators? What would indicate the difference between a demonic infestation and then just like a haunted house?
Yeah, well, first of all, I believe that God has gifted us with the sixth sense. When you have a demonic that's present, you don't need a psychic or medium to tell you at all, because everything in your body is telling you to run. We have an innate sixth sense that tells us to flight or fight. And when we're in a situation where we're like, okay, this does not feel right, we need to go. That's when you need to go. That's when you don't need to, don't push it. Because if you push it, when I was studying in the seminary, in graduate school, in ethics, you never act with a doubtful conscience. You may allow an evil to occur. So what that means is if you're a team and everyone says, this doesn't feel right, and you have a doubtful conscience, and you still walk in and someone gets hurt, you have allowed an evil to occur. So you follow your conscience. If your conscience says this is not right, something is wrong, then you stop it. So that's number one.
Where is that line between, I guess, foolishness and bravery?
That's $1 million question, because that's the problem. A lot of people, especially now with social media, their whole body is telling them, what are you doing? They're guardian angels, if you will, or whatever. It's telling you, you need to go, but we have free will. Get out of this place. But they got to catch that. They want to experience it. They want to see that evidence. And then when they do and all hell breaks loose in their home, they want me to try to fix it.
Yep.
But they need to understand this is not a quick fix situation.
Yep.
And not only that, but when you're dealing with infestation, this is terrifying. This is no joke. This is, you think nightmares, think of the scariest nightmare you've ever had. Multiply that times 50.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the most frightening experience. When someone is under oppression and obsession, that is as frightening as it gets. That's when the boogeyman becomes real.
Yeah. That's pretty wild, I guess. Go ahead.
That's just intense, yeah.
So what's been the worst one that you've had to deal with?
Emotionally, it was probably an incubus case. And she was 68 years old. And I grew to love her. I grew to love her family. She was one of the most precious human beings I've ever met in my life. I don't know how rated this is. I don't know if there's kids watching, so I gotta be careful.
Good to go with whatever.
When I got involved with this case, her doctor and her family were in the hospital, and she was in the hospital, and they'd contacted me, and we did a 3-way phone call with the doctor, and the doctor explained to me that her private area and her anal area had been ripped apart, and that the trauma was so severe that it was not self-inflicted, and then even the doctor says, I can't explain this. And so I got involved with that particular case. I worked with her for 3 years, and she described them as bed walkers. So 3 10-pound dogs that would creep up in the bed, and she was awake. She wasn't not asleep, and they would hold her, and then they would attack her. And we actually have, I think we're the only team in the entire world that actually has a video where she is lying in the bed, and you see the bed sheets rise about 1 foot, 2 feet, and then fall, and then 2 feet, and then she's screaming that it's attacking her.
Wow.
So I worked with her for 3 years, and
wow.
So yeah, she suffered with this from 5, and then the last year of her life, she was no longer being assaulted, but she could still sometimes feel the bed walkers, but they would no longer assault her. And she passed from natural causes, and her family asked me to preside at her funeral. That was hard because for 3 years I worked with her, and I went to my mentor and I said, I'm so angry. I did this, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, and I'm doing that, and that's all. I'm. And he was an older priest, and he said, "Hey James, do me a favor and get off the cross and let Jesus have a try." And I thought, well, that's rude. I'm trying to talk to you. It's like, dude, that's nasty. But it's true. Because he said, all I hear you say is I. You're not doing anything. You're an instrument that God is using, and this person will be delivered in God's time and not yours. You need to humble yourself because the demons are attacking your ego. And he was right. Because that's what it was attacking, in my emotions and my ego. And it really was. It was breaking me down.
So do you also investigate, or do you even have time to investigate? Or is that...
I used to investigate a lot, and I loved it. Loved it. But as the bishop now, and we're there's a lot of things when you're the presiding bishop, presiding archbishop. There's so many things you have to juggle, whether it be the seminary or the seminarians in Bible study and night prayer and chaplaincy. There's a lot. So my time is incredibly limited. But unfortunately, the only cases that I really get involved with right now are dark cases. So this is why I love comedy. I love joking around. I love goofing off, because you have to, especially in this ministry, because if you don't, it'll take a toll. I was at one time 420 pounds.
Wow.
420
You look
pounds.
phenomenal.
Well, I took a shower.
Oh,
just one. I took my daily shower. We just do that in one time in Kentucky. Just one time. Once a week. But no, I was 4. When I did Exorcism live on Travel Channel with Chip Coffey in 2015, I was 420 pounds, because
I was watched that.
I was being pulled in so many directions, and I was literally putting myself in an early grave. I mean, I have a picture of me, if I can find it, side by side. I looked like I was dying.
Wow.
And I truly was.
Sure.
Because of all the cases.
So was that your way of coping? Was the food was kind of helping you cope with the emotional part of it, so you didn't have to deal with it?
When I was happy,
Yeah, MaryLynn.
When I was happy, I went to chocolate. When I was sad, I went to chocolate. When I was bored, I went to chocolate. When I was depressed or lonely, I went to chocolate.
Even when you're celebrating, you go to chocolate.
Celebrating, I went to chocolate. I went to chocolate because it releases endorphins.
Yep.
And when because I was under and I'll keep scrolling until I'll find it, but I was under so much stress and emotional stress. And I was going through emotional trauma. And I'd forgotten to take time for myself.
So
Are you eating chocolate? Are you eating chocolate now?
He has to eat. So we have
eat all the time.
I love it.
We have a parent with the normal show, and that's one of his things is he eats all the time, and I'm having to try to keep him from eating. So
here you go. You better watch that chocolate there, son. Otherwise, you might look like that.
Look at that! Wow.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Could I find mine?
That's incredible.
Because I mean,
you know what? I will say that's one thing I don't think as paranormal investigators you think a lot about. You think about the possession, and then you handle the possession or the exorcism, and you think it's over. But what you don't realize is you still have this long road to hoe of trying to get better, of trying to get over that experience. And that alone can oppress and just weigh you down, right?
A lot. You have to have aftercare. And this is why Father Mark and our abbot Tommy, they went through a program for counseling to become certified. And I'm also going to be going through that program. I'm going to be going through the program to actually teach people to be certified in counseling, because it is so important to understand that once the person is delivered, God willing, you got to remember that it was so much emotional, physical, psychological trauma, not only inflicted on the person who's possessed, but also on the family who saw their family members deteriorate in front of them.
Sure.
It is incredibly debilitating. And so you have to have ongoing, certainly counseling and help through that process, because if you don't, then you're going to be in some serious trouble. And we can talk about the stages if you want. We can talk about whatever you guys want. We can talk about that. We can talk about St. Elvis, St. Elvis Presley.
Have you seen Elvis Presley?
Well, he was canonized. People just don't know. So St. Elvis or St. John Denver or St. Luciano Pavarotti.
So there was me.
Wow. That's fantastic. Good for you. But
I think what you said is accurate, because I used to be a police officer, and we hold on to all of that. And of course, being a cop, you're too big and bad to actually go seek help and just to talk to somebody. And I think that's why marriages fail in the law enforcement community. Yes. I think why friendships fail in the law enforcement community. I think that's why cops end up doing a lot of things.
But you know what? Just even in paranormal investigations, that's where everybody, the stuff that they deal with and just the energies going in and just how sad people cry, and they hold on to that and they don't let it go. Whenever they leave, that energy goes with them, and then it starts affecting their day-to-day lives. And most of the people don't realize they have to be able to release that.
Yeah, and and that's true. My nephew is a police officer, and I was a police chaplain for a major metropolitan area. And you're right. You are right, man. And thank you for your service as officer. I support the blue, and I got to tell you, I think there's certainly more.
Thank you,
and I understand there's a hater-gators out there with the blue, but there's a lot better. There's more good guys out and women out there than there are the rotten apples, and they sacrifice so much, and especially. And I can't tell you how often we are
Sometimes
involved.
I wish I chose firemen.
What's that?
Sometimes I wish I chose firemen.
But even firemen, no, because I served as a chaplain there, and there was one time I've never seen. This broke my heart. There was a family that there was a fire, and the fireman went into the house to try to get, because there were kids. He couldn't get to these rooms where the kids were, and he finally got in, and it was just too late, and he just came out and just just hit the ground. And that's where chaplains, when we come in, we're also helping people, our first responders, because they see some pretty bad stuff. So
but then you need that person to be able to someone help you through all that as well, because you're helping them. So it's just it's a domino effect, and it really doesn't end.
Yeah. And it's important, because that's one thing with the ministry. It's so important to find some individual or individuals you can speak to and just kind of let off steam, whether that be fellow clergy member. But you also have to be careful about that, because you don't want to burden them too much, because they're already burdened with other ministry. So that's why I think mental health is one of the most important things that we have to talk more about in the society. And the stigma with mental health is just so stupid. Every single one of us, we have some issue that we're dealing with, whether it be a depression or anxiety or whatever it is, and that doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a human being.
Yeah, that's right. And
so
for those watching, this is Sidekicks Paranormal, and we are on right now. In fact, is it scrolling?
It's scrolling right now, yes.
Okay, so just follow the scroll, and you'll get all the information on everything that's happening, what's going on around us. So I think another thing too is we've actually had a fireman, Michael Angus. He's been on our show before, and a lot of times they start their career even as EMT, and they still, as firemen, they have to answer those as an EMT, as emergency medical team, and so they can find themselves in some very frightening and terrible cases. And I have some other friends that are police and firemen, and the best thing that I always try to tell them is you have to find the things that you enjoy in life, and you have to embrace them, because if you don't and you just let your job take control, you're going to wind up down a pretty negative and a pretty dark path, man. And you got positive energy, right? It's called positive energy for a reason. You've got to find a reason to be happy. You have to enjoy your relationships and be blessed, right?
Absolutely. And whatever that is, whatever you have to do, if you go walking or go exercising or being around people or whatever that is, you're right. You have to, because it is so crucial to me. I don't find God in golden cathedrals, because I find that to be such an abomination of wealth, and where the pastor's sitting on a chair where you can feed an entire neighborhood of kids. I mean, really serious. That to me, I just don't like huge, gaudy cathedrals. I find God in nature. I find God in simplicity. I find God in serving, the homeless for food. So that's how I kind of recharge my batteries, is when I'm able to help other people. And whether that be through Bible study or night prayer that we do, or serving the homeless, whatever it is, that's how I kind of recharge my batteries.
I dress up like a goat.
You know what? And it works.
It does.
If it works, that's it. You are the goat.
It honestly works. It's the strangest thing.
Well, and just the happiness it brings, just going around, and people are actually looking for, because when we go to our paracons, they're looking for the goat now. If they see that we're there, they know who it is, so they're looking for the goat. They want to get pictures, and they'll chase him down. So it just makes it fun. So
we weren't talking metaphorically. You truly.
He really does. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so great. That is so wonderful. You're a little goat furry. Is that what it is?
So I don't know why I decided to do it, but so we got our little Screamy, the psychic goat. He's our little mascot. So I decided, I'm going to dress up like a goat and just go around the the Paracon, and it just like blew up. So now anytime I go to a Paracon, I have to bring my goat costume.
Yeah, I agree. Annie Waters, do you have a picture?
I'm getting
Yeah.
it.
If I send you one, can you put it on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to show you.
All right.
And I've got all kinds on my.
Good stuff.
All right, here it comes.
Did you send it through chat?
Yep.
Classic Phil.
Oh, there it is.
That's why I'm just the camera.
Just the cameraman. It's true, Christy. I even wore it in 99 degrees in Gettysburg, and it was hot.
Well, the picture that you're fixing to see is, in fact, Gettysburg.
Hey!
That is so great. That's got to be hot, though,
He
dude.
dresses up. He
It
dresses up as our mascot, so that's pretty.
I can only wear it for about 30 minutes to an hour because it is really hot.
Yeah, I imagine so. Especially going all the way up to the head and everything. Man,
He goes all the way out. So,
Commit,
yep.
that is so cool.
right?
I feel nothing.
Why don't we go ahead and show him our trailer
Okay.
so we can kind of get an idea a little bit about our show?
Do the new one. Okay.
I can be your hero, baby.
Damn it, Mike.
Hey, I'm Mike, and death sucks. I've had a couple of deaths in my family recently, and I want to know, what comes after this? Is there life after death? So I'm teaming up with MaryLynn, a psychic / paranormal investigator. And together, we're going to check out some really awesome haunted locations. And maybe, just maybe, I'll find some of the answers that I'm looking for.
Mike really has a hard time paying attention. His mind is all over the place. Watch your step. Oh. Mike, you need to be careful. You need to know what's going on around you because you're going to hurt yourself.
What happened?
You just fell.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm going to have my hands full. Hey, what are you doing?
What?
Didn't we talk about that last night?
Yeah, I'm not as big on friends as you are. I told you I'm more of an office guy.
You're not supposed to be eating your investigations. Do that either before we come
Okay,
in.
well, hold on now. That was really more of a nibble.
Is he seriously eating right now?
How did you expect me not to eat? Do you know how hungry you get doing these investigations? Sometimes you just gotta snack. A man has to snack.
Mike. Could you not eat during the party?
And that is Pair with the Normal.
That was blasphemy that you spit out that chocolate,
I know. I was very upset they made me do it.
Every time I see that, I have to laugh because just the chocolate on the front of his shirt.
You're going to have to go confession for that one, young man.
Right. So that's kind of what our show, and and MaryLynn, we really wanted to show that you can. Not everything has to be scary. Not everything is Zach Bagan's demon in every home. You can, as a normal person, if you have an interest, you can go in and kind of enjoy that interest as something that can be fun, can be positive for you. We kind of just wanted to show the lighter side of what it means to be a paranormal investigator.
And I know Zach has a lot of. I know he has a lot of fans, and also he has a lot of supporters. And but I will tell you this: when I did Ghost Adventures at the Bobby Mackey's, one thing that I will tell you about Zach, not one of them ever said, "Hey Bishop, why don't you say it this way, or say it that way, or let's pretend not what?" Because I would have walked out. I would say, "You know what? You can go fly a kite."
Right.
So I will say that about them. They never once, not ever, or even the Booth brothers, because I was in 3 of their documentaries, and never once did they say, "Hey, why don't you say it, this way, or let's pretend this." Not one time. Actually, I can tell you a story about. You know the Booth brothers?
No.
No.
Okay. Well, the Booth brothers did.
They shot Lincoln.
No, for cry! I tell
No?
you what, that's what you get for spitting out your chocolate. See, that's what you get.
That's
Yeah.
what you get.
No, the Booth brothers are they are documentary. They make documentaries on sci-fi. They did the tunnel at Waverly Hills. That movie. They've done a lot of documentaries. They've been in the paranormal for many years. But one time, when they asked me to do a documentary with them called The Haunted Boy, it's on the actual true story of The Exorcist. I was like, I don't know about these guys. I don't know.
I know
about
exactly
these guys.
who you're talking about. I've seen
Yeah,
that. Yes.
Phil, and so I was really skeptical. I was like, I don't know about these, but let me tell you what they did. In the middle of the shoot, they waited for the perfect time for the sun to come in and all the lights. I mean, it was just perfect. And we were at a case where it was an incubus case. It was very sensitive. And a little boy came in, I think he was like 4 or 5 years old. He came into the shot and was talking to Phil about his toy car. And I was watching to see how Phil would respond because they waited all day long to get this perfect shot. And because they were, they also do things for Sci-Fi Channel. And not one time did he yell. He didn't get angry. He just talked to the little boy about his truck. They started playing around with the little truck, and then the little boy walked off. They missed the shot. They missed the shot, but not one time did he lose his cool, was disrespectful. So that was like, okay, you know what? I like these guys.
Yeah.
So
missed a shot, but didn't miss out on a nice life moment.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, I
cool
saw
guys, cool
you
guys.
Too.
also did Bobby Mackey with Jack Osborne and
I did, yeah.
Katrina, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I saw that you gave them some pretty stiff warnings because I didn't know that Ghost Adventurers went to Bobby Mackey, so I guess
Ghost Adventures actually set it off. Ghost
Okay.
Adventures is the one that was Ghost Adventures at Bobby Mackey's. That was actually the very first thing that blew them up. I mean, it blew them up big time. That's what I think. Bobby Mackey's is what put Ghost Adventures on the paranormal map because it was such an intense episode. Okay. And we did three shows on that one. But oh yeah, that was a very crazy night. But I did the Exorcism live with Chip Coffey in 2015 on the Travel Channel, and that was pretty cool too. Because the Travel Channel is really, let me tell you what see, everybody got all crazy and like, oh, Bishop Long, I knew he was fake. He's performing an exorcism on camera. No, idiots. I'm performing I'm blessing a home. It was the minor rite of exorcism. I've never performed an exorcism on camera on someone, and I will never, ever film it. Ever. Never. I will never.
That's a personal moment, right?
You know what? That's disgusting. Anybody who performs an exorcism on camera and then puts it out on YouTube or social media, they are a fraud. They are fake. They shame on them because to do that, that's an abomination. That's someone going through extreme trauma. And you're putting it on social media to get likes and get a buck. So when I did the Exorcism live in 2015, I told, and this is why I fell in love with the Travel Channel. So I told the directors, I said, listen, I'm going to go there, and you're only going to give me 10 minutes, and that is not enough to perform the minor rite of exorcism. So here's what we're going to do. If you want me to come, I'll show up. But you're going to, after we go off air, because it was a live show, you're going to get out of my way. Everyone's going to leave the home, allow me to finish it, which is about 45 minutes, and that's where, otherwise I won't do it. And they said, absolutely. So when we went off the air, then the director said, everyone get off set. Bishop Long has to complete it. They waited for 45 minutes until I finished. And when they did that, I thought, you know what, Travel Channel, you have my respect for that.
That's really interesting that you bring that up because I didn't even think about what it would be time-wise to do something like, because you watch TV and you're like, it's done in 5 seconds,
Yeah.
But you don't realize how long it actually takes of your time, of your energy.
Yeah, and because it was like 15 minutes because it's a live show, and I told him, I said 15 minutes, it's not going to work. I can't do this in 15 minutes. And actually, what people don't know, because I can talk about it now, is that the reason is they wanted me to perform the minor rite of exorcism is because the woman who was the wife, she was pregnant, and she did not want to bring a child into that house without having that house perform the minor rite of exorcism. So that's why we did that. So I couldn't divulge that information then, but I can now.
So you say it was 45 minutes. What's been your longest one because I know they all don't just go in 45 minutes. Some of them are days and sometimes even weeks, months, and years. So what's the longest one? I know you said the lady was 3 years for the incubus.
Yeah, that's probably 3 years because I also performed the minor rite of exorcism with the solemn rite. So that was, yeah. So it was probably that 3 years.
Okay.
That's a lot of time to invest too.
Energy, time, emotions.
Yeah, and it was exhausting. But we pushed through it, and so because there's a difference between the minor rite and the solemn rite. They're not the same.
So
What's the difference?
Right.
Okay, well, the solemn rite of exorcism is reserved for clergy who is trained, who's been given permission by their bishop to perform the solemn rite. The solemn rite is when someone has gone through the stages of infestation, oppression, obsession, and then possession. That is when the demonic has possessed the body. So you perform an exorcism on the demonic entity to expel it. And that's different than the minor rite. The minor rite is when a demonic or malevolent spirit has infested itself within the home. And then you perform the minor rite of exorcism on that. You don't perform an exorcism on the home. That doesn't exist. There's no such thing. You bless the home. So you perform the exorcism on whatever entity that is there to expel it. And so that's the difference between infestation.
But it hasn't connected to anyone yet.
So it's
that's correct. Well, it technically can't. So what you have, the stages are infestation. So let's say you go out and you paranormal investigate, and the place allegedly has demonic activity. Sure. And by the very moment you say, "Is there anyone here? Can you make a noise? Can you do something?" That's invitation. And I told Zach many times. I said, "Zach, when you're pumping your chest up and say, 'Come on, demons, I dare you to do something,' do you not understand? You're not provoking. That's not provocation.
You're just giving permission."
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's like Mike did his very first investigation. He came up and he's like, "Well, you can join us in our room," and I'm like, "No."
Oh yeah. What are you doing?
So okay, a little bit of background on that. So we go to Deadwood. I do an Estes session. Leave. The very next group comes in, does an Estes session, and during the Estes session, they.
I was there, and it called your name. It was asking for him.
So at the end of the night, tired and everything, I went back to that location to, say, "Hey, I came back. Everything's good."
Being his buddy and roommate, I was like, I'll go too.
And then I was just like, "Hey, if you need anything, come hang out in my room."
And room 214.
I was like, "I don't know. This is my first time doing this."
Never mind, you're not invited.
Yeah, it must have been the goat costume. See, that's what it was.
Actually,
the goat costume.
At that time, I was wearing a Ghostbusters outfit.
Yeah, we wore a Ghostbusters outfit to Deadwood, and we have a picture of that as well. Stand by.
So let's say you go to a place and now the demonic has infested itself, attached itself to you. Then you go to home. So your religious objects are desecrated. There are bangings of three sometimes. There are the smell of sulfur, the rotten flesh. There's several things that occur with infestation. Then you have what's called oppression. So that's when the demonic begins to attack you physically. It also attacks you. It's called obsession, where it begins to attack your intellect as well. So it begins to bite you and scratch you and pinch you and hurt you, throw you off the bed. You begin to see these terrible figures in your home, not just sleep paralysis, but even when you're wide awake. I mean, it is truly terrifying. And it is to a point where you're past sleep deprivation. And it's breaking down the will of the person. So you're at a point where you're so exhausted. A lot of us say, "Well, okay, I give up. I can't do this anymore." We're past that. We're to the point where you can physically no longer fight. And then it begins to interact with you. And you can hear it. And that's obsession. And it begins to tell you to stay away from people, isolate you. So you've isolated yourself away from everybody. It's breaking down the intellect. So when the intellect and will of the person has been at such a diminished state, then possession can take place. And that's when the solemn rite is performed.
That's really that's pretty crazy when you think about how it can kind of just attack you one piece by one piece. So let me ask you this: what is its benefit to doing this to a person? Like, why is it doing that to a person? I mean, just as
What does it get out of it?
Because they love
Again,
I don't know.
it's a form of desecration. So it's desecrating the image of God, and that is the ultimate form of blasphemy. So it is very sadistic. It enjoys hurting the ones God loves most.
Gotcha.
And so that's why when I tell people about oppression is a terrible, I mean, I've seen people before and then I've seen after pictures, and they are it's two different people. I mean, they've gone through so much. And just imagine you're in your bed and you see shadows, you hear things, you can hear it talking to you, you can smell the putrid breath, you can see these things, and it's absolutely debilitating. And the person just can't fight. They just can't fight anymore.
Okay, so then that leads me to ask, so what do you think about psychics and mediums who can actually see those as well, but not interact and things like that? What do you
let me ask you this question. What do you think I'm going to say about psychic and mediums?
That you don't really believe in them?
I actually do believe them.
Okay.
And there is a huge disservice about people who take scripture and they try to justify scripture for their hatred because they have no idea why scripture was written and to whom it was written for, what was the purpose. I've talked about this. Get a lot of hate. I got a lot of hate messages, but I really don't care. So when it refers to can't go to soothsayers and psychics and mediums in scripture, first of all, it's fascinating how people take the holiness code, which is that's a part of it, and they try to judge people by it, but yet they don't follow all 613 laws. So you can't cherry pick. So that's number one. And number two, we're no longer under the old law; we're under the new covenant. But the reason is that was written is their understanding of a psychic medium was completely different with our understanding of a psychic medium. It's not the same thing. The terminology is completely different. So there was paganism. And what happened is there were multiple gods, let's say 20 gods. And if one of your loved ones had passed away, then you were required to give a certain shekels, 5 shekels to each god, so that god would not raise up your loved one, that's necromancy, and then punish them forever in the state of Hades. So then you would offer shekels to these intercessories, which were psychic mediums in their day. And then what happened is everybody would be happy. So then your loved one passed away a month later or 2 months later. Then you go back to the same intercessory and say, okay, I'm going to give you my 10 shekels for each god. Oh, no. We have 30 gods now. And now it's 20 shekels for each god. So it was a scam.
So I was going to say, that just ended up being a scam at that time.
That's all it was. That's all it was. That's what they were referring to, that you cannot take scripture out of context. Now, there are a lot of people who claim to be psychic medium, and I know that they are about as psychic as my microphone. But I do know people who truly are. And I also tell this story. And when I ever tell this story, for all the hater-gators out there who say, oh, the psychic mediums, they're going to burn in the fire pits of hell. Shut up. I always tell them, let me tell you a little story. let me give you a little story time. And then I tell them to get off the cross and let Jesus have a try. I say, before you start passing judgment on somebody, when I was serving as a chaplain for a major police department, there was a medium who contacted the detectives who were working a case where a cold case. They couldn't find the remains or the person missing. And the psychic medium told them, this is where you can find the person. Now, I was there on the scene, and I was there to primarily keep the family away so the family wouldn't run on the scene. And to obviously were the evidence. They found the remains of this body within, 5 feet or so of where this medium told where they could find it. And the medium didn't do it. Right. So I was there. And by the way, this family was very, very anti-psychic and medium. They always thought that they're doing the work of the devil, but let me tell you, so their tone changed completely when that psychic medium was able to tell them exactly where they would be able to find this loved one, and then they were able to give that person a proper burial, and they were to place closure in their life. Now, the hater-gators will still say, well, that was just the demons. They were tricked. Demons don't give you closure. They take your peace of mind away from you. They don't give you peace of mind. So their whole entire attitude towards psychic mediums have completely changed.
Very cool.
Good.
I like that.
I've never met any mutants. psychic mediums.
You never met mutants? They're out there, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess I've talked to a few that. Yeah.
Well, and Phil was a complete non-believer whenever he first started this too. So his back in what was it
in
November?
Deadwood?
Yep, in Deadwood was his first experience as well. So now he's you see how far he's coming. He's a true believer in all of this now.
Here's the deal with so I'm very skeptical. So if someone tells me they have something going on, I'm very skeptical because if I believed every case was demonic, that I had 16,000 people telling me they have this demon. Right. It's just simply not the case. But this is what I tell people all the time who tell me, well, I don't believe that demons exist. Okay. And they prove to me that demons exist. All right. And I talked to them for a little bit. So I asked them, do you think that I'm mentally ill? No. Do you think that I'm somewhat articulate? Okay. So in saying that, I have a doctorate in ministry. I have 3 master degrees. I don't charge. I never will. So people can't tell. They can't say, well, you're doing this for fame and fortune. Well, you do fame so that you can get fortune. But I don't have fortune. And I'm not famous. I can go to Walmart and no one knows who I am. So I don't do this for fame and fortune. So I do this because I cannot deny what I've seen.
Right.
So I spend a tremendous amount of time on this ministry helping people. If I did not believe, if I just had one doubt, it's just the smallest ounce of doubt that demons do not exist or possession does not exist, I would do something else with my time. I wouldn't be wasting it or doing something for free. So obviously I'm very dedicated to this, not for fame and not for fortune, but because of what I've seen and what God has called me to do in this ministry.
You could be like an Olympic javelin thrower instead.
Well, I probably wouldn't be very good at that. No. I probably definitely wouldn't. You would not.
You wouldn't medal. You wouldn't medal. You know.
But you show up.
I would show up and wear the goat costume.
Yes.
So there we go. I'd get the medal for that. The best looking goat costume.
So the one question I have too is, what is the difference between demonology and an exorcist?
Well, a demonologist is a person who has a calling to study, obviously demonology, angelology, and even theology, and who takes cases perhaps for the church to work those cases, to gather all the information. They know the signs to look for, and they present this evidence, and then they say, okay, church official, this is what we have. That's a demonologist. That's a laity. Laity cannot perform the solemn rite of exorcism. They have no faculties to do so. An exorcist, by their very definition, they are demonologists, but they are an exorcist. They are clergy whose bishop has given them permission to perform the solemn rite of exorcism. Now, there's a difference. There's the minor rite of exorcism. There's a deliverance, and then there's the solemn rite of exorcism. So any Christian can do a deliverance. There's a difference between the performing the solemn rite of exorcism and then performing the deliverance. So, for example, there's a term when you're. So let's say that someone has an attachment, a demonic attachment, and you pray for the removal of that attachment. That's called supplicating exorcism. That is a prayer directed towards God to remove that attachment. Any Christian can do that. Anybody can pray over anybody. But an imperative exorcism is strictly reserved for clergy who has studied the rite, and then in that case, it's a command in the name of Christ directed to the demon to demand it to depart.
So do you teach people for demonology, or do you have anybody that you mentor?
Oh yeah, I've mentored a couple people. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, Rich Valdez now owns the paranormal clergy, and so he serves as a demonologist. And we have clergy now within the United States Catholic Church. And so our abbot, he's actually served as an exorcist, Father Sean. He's serving an exorcist. And what I'm going to do with those guys is I'm putting together the solemn rite of exorcism training, so that they can actually get the training that I received, so they know what to look for, how the rite is actually broken down, because there are several elements to the sacred rite, and you have to know where you are and where it is, as far as in this exorcism, what to look for, because it's very. People say, "Well, I'm a Christian, I can go perform an exorcism." No, you can't.
No,
you can't, because what happens if the person dies on you and you didn't do what you're supposed to do? You have no idea what you're supposed to do. Now it's involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah.
And this is because remember, that person has gone through such extreme trauma to get to the stage of possession that you better make sure that T's are crossed and I's are dotted, because the person is at a very vulnerable state, not only emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, but also physically.
So have you seen it to that point to where someone is gone trying to help somebody and they take it too far? And
yes, many times.
Okay. So
I may walk the line here, but what's your thoughts on the self-proclaimed demonologist, somebody that hasn't gone through, say, professional training?
I see. Here's the deal. I understand that. I get it, because not everybody can, study in the Roman Catholic priesthood. I understand that. Not everybody can go through. Not everybody can go through a seminary program, because they're expensive. It's not cheap. I mean, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. So I get that, but I would encourage somebody, if you have a calling to serve in demonology, then you need to be mentored by someone who actually is trained.
So there's a lot.
No, was that?
So not by me.
Well, no, it's not certainly not after you spit out the chocolate. No, heck no.
Right.
I mean,
He's not going to let that go.
I'm not going to let that go.
Mike is right out.
That's it. So I was going to get my holy water out, but no. But I would find somebody who's actually legitimately trained, clergy member who is willing to teach you, because there's a lot of nonsense. There's a lot of nonsense that's all stuff that's on social media, and I look at some of these people teaching demonology. There's one person teaching demonology saying you don't even have to believe in the devil.
I think I know who you're talking about on that, because I actually saw the person's stuff that he was putting out there.
I mean, with all due respect, that's like saying,
So
I don't even know.
I'm a certified personal trainer, and I'm not saying that there are parallels here, but as a trainer, when I go to the gym and I see other personal trainers, and you could get some of them, they got their certificate for like $50, man.
Yeah.
And you go in there, and I've heard them say, "Oh yeah, take creatine; it'll fill your muscles up with air." Like, what if you hit with a pin? Do you deflate? Like, do you think about how I've seen exercises that it boggles the mind, and you go, I can't believe, but there are. I guess what I'm trying to say is gullibility is a thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So, and I think everybody that knows a person that maybe says that they are, a demonologist, or says they are anything they are, maybe, trust but verify.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're 100% right, because somebody who claims to be, trained in that kind of stuff can really hurt somebody.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, physical training, that is serious stuff. I mean, that is no joke. They could really physically harm them. But it's the same thing. People say, well, what if I have a calling to be a pilot? So are you going to get in a plane and I'm going to be a pilot and tell you, oh, by the way, I got my degree on YouTube University.
I feel really good about this.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's free for those wearing goat costumes. Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's free, but it's that absurd. And what insults me is when you start cutting corners, then that's when you actually hurt people.
Yeah.
And especially when it's one thing cutting corners, as a trainer, a physical trainer. That's one thing, which is irresponsible. But it's a different ball game altogether when you start cutting corners when you're dealing with God.
Well, I mean, you're taking life into your own hands, right?
You truly are. I mean, this is really, honest to God. I think people are just so interested and they want to see it, but then when they see it, they want nothing else to do with it.
It scares them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would always encourage people, if you have a calling to serve in this field, then you need to have someone who's going to not sugarcoat it, but someone is going to tell you, once you go into this field, you're marked. And that is Willie Windwalker Gibson. Do you know Willie Windwalker Gibson?
Yes.
He's I've known Willie for a long, long time. And his wife, they're going through hell. I mean, and let me tell you something, Willie has got into demonology, and he's done this for many, many years. And so he's now experiencing just a little bit of what it's like of oppression. And the other day I went to his house. He said, James, I need you to get here because it's heavy. It's heavy here. And so I went to his home, and it was his wife had the leg amputated. It has been one thing after another to an extreme. They haven't been able to even get up for air for 5 seconds without another thing going on, another thing. I mean, it's constant. That's the type of oppression. It doesn't let up. It's a constant. You can't even get up for air. You're sinking. Yes, and so I went there and I was performing the minor rite, and Willie went right into. I mean, I could tell that he was having some problems with that attachment. So I had to immediately revert to Willie and take care of that situation. But that's the type of oppression, just like I was 420 pounds.
Yeah.
And so now Willie is going through oppression. This stuff is what demons do. I mean, they can wreak havoc in your life. And so you just you have to take this very seriously, and that's why when you cut corners, that's something that no one should ever do.
All right, I'm going to ask you one question. What did you have for breakfast?
I have not had anything for breakfast because I'm fasting.
What was the last thing you ate?
You ate chocolate in front of him, bro.
I did.
Shame on you. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Right.
You should be. I should take my collar off and tell you exactly what I think.
I agree, and you're on the show that you can do it too.
That's it. That is it. I'm.
Well, now that do you have a favorite snack that you go to now?
Yeah, walnuts.
Walnuts.
Yep.
I like walnuts.
Yeah, I like walnuts. So I try to get protein because obviously the good protein, that's really important but I don't want to get so much. But protein is absolutely essential, as you know. You got to have the protein. So I try to stay, but I always fight. I'm always going to fight with that sugar, always. And that's always going to be something that I have to battle.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Walnuts or pecans.
What do you got, Maria?
Barbell protein bars.
I forgot what I was going to ask now. What I was going to ask is, whenever you're doing the rites and stuff like that, do you go by yourself or do you have someone with you as for?
No. Now the minor rite is different. The solemn rite, no. I actually have someone who's trained in the medical field that can monitor the vitals of the possessed, because I don't know if the person is going to a heart attack or stroke. Right. So I have to have somebody there who's able to monitor those vitals, and I always have a secondary. So you have the primary exorcist, and then you have a secondary, which is the assistant. And so that's why when I did the Eli Roth show, the Legion of Exorcists show, we ended I think Sci-Fi, Travel Channel and HBO Max or something. I don't. But I was in the first episode that they talked about. They recreate clergy's and a demonologist story, and I was the secondary. I was the assistant. So you always have a primary, you have a secondary. So if something were to happen to me during an exorcism, either that I would get blessed and we can continue, or that I'd be removed from the room and the rite would continue if possible. But it's something it's something you should never ever perform an exorcism by yourself.
Right. So we do have a question: is are you fasting because you're preparing for an exorcism?
I am.
Interesting.
Sometimes I fast because I just don't want to go slow.
You go fast all the time.
All right. Ladies and gents, it's been an hour. We've had a fantastic time with, do I say the Reverend?
Bishop.
Okay, I want to make sure I got the terminology right. Bishop James Long. MaryLynn, Phil, anything you'd like to add before we play our ending credits?
Nope, that's it. I love having you on the show and would love to have you back again if you're willing to come back.
And Absolutely. Please visit his website. Oh, go ahead.
And by the way, Arkansas Paranormal, I'm going to be there. I'm not doing a lot of paranormal this year, but Arkansas Paranormal Expo, I'm going to be doing that this year. I think it's the 26th and 27th. Cool. And so and I love it because it's a fundraiser for the museum there, for the military museum.
That's great.
For the MacArthur's. So I'm really excited about this. I'll be there on Saturday, it's 26th and 27th. And I think it's ArkansasParanormalExpo.org or .com. It's one or the other. So I'll be there this year.
Awesome. And please make sure you follow his TikTok. He's also on YouTube. You're on everything. Please go. I don't know. Can they donate there as well? if they wanted to donate to you?
Well, actually, I prefer right now, if right now we're raising funds for a couple of our clergy members, Father Sean and Father Mark, because next year we're having a retreat and we don't get paid. We don't get paid as clergy. So we do this 100% free. There's no paycheck. There's no retirement. So if you can go to usocc.org and click on the retreat button. And if you click on that retreat button, you're going to see Father Sean and Father Mark. And if you can make a donation, because they have to fly in and then they have to rent a car, then they have to pay. So that's a lot of money. So if you could help them, that would be great. And then, of course, Monday through Friday, we have night prayer. And that's at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's strictly audio. So just go to usocc.org, scroll down to where it says night prayer, and click that link, and it takes you right to Spreaker.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There you go, folks. And also, please feel free to check out streambeacontv.com. That is the brand new platform service that our show, Pair with the Normal, and the Searchers, Brian and Rochelle have a show on there. Charm City Paranormal. We'll have some true crime stuff on there as well. A lot of brand new shows on this platform. Discovery, the History Channel, a lot of these Netflix, a lot of them have canceled a lot of the your favorite paranormal shows. We're trying to bring them back. So please find that too, streambeacontv.com. Go ahead and play us out.
Thank you.
Thanks.